Good morning, good evening. Welcome back to the Nerdssippodcast. And today's another one of those special ones. And we're joined by Max Oakland, kicking it over in the States. We're going to talk to him about his game called Wink. That's out on itch at the moment. Fun little platformer. How are you, Max?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, man. I'm good. How's Wink been going? How's it tracking?
So what I've been working on lately is transferring it from GameMaker 7 to GameMaker Studio 2.
Okay.
And getting that all set up. And recently I had a really nice success where I finally figured out how to get it to compile on Mac, which was not working mostly because of the App Store licensing was pretty complicated to figure out how to get it in GameMaker, but I got it to work. So once I fix all the bugs that have been coming up from the transfer from GameMaker 7 to GameMaker Studio 2, I'm going to put out another beta.
Oh, cool.
What's a lot of the differences moving from, because I remember GameMaker years ago, like early GameMaker, making like stick figure games when Pivot was a big thing, if anyone remembers that.
Pivot?
Yeah. Do you remember Pivot?
No, I don't know what that is.
It was like a frame by frame stick figure like animation program.
Yeah.
That's cool.
When like the YouTube stick figure games and like fights and scenes and stuff was massive in like 2008.
I think that was a lot of years ago. I remember that.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's actually showing my age, and I'm not that old. So yeah, talking about GameMaker Trent's moving from GameMaker 7 to Studio 2. Where does the game currently sit in its current build? I saw that you've released another demo fairly recently, Demo 2. How does that differ from its previous builds?
Well, Demo 2 has a completely new level 1 because my original level 1 was not, there was really no concept behind it. It was just kind of like, I need a level 1. More of my later levels were a little bit more developed. So in Demo 2, I really worked really hard on making a new level based around the shooting lasers mechanic, because you play as a eyeball with a body, an anthropomorphic eyeball who can shoot lasers out of his eyes.
Yeah,
and
I love it. It's great.
So,
it's super clever.
Thanks. You guys played it?
Yeah. We played a bit of it. Yeah.
Awesome. So anyway, so I wanted to make a level that was kind of about shooting lasers and then different things you can do with them, like reflections, like different kinds of crystals that make it shoot in different directions, and having like that kind of thing be a little bit of strategizing and stuff. Like
weapon modifiers and that kind of thing.
Kinda. Like you can shoot in this first level left and right, and that's it. And then, but if you shoot it at certain kinds of materials, then it will change the direction so you can get to other things and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Right, like environmental stuff.
Right. This game has a lot of environmental stuff, really inspired by Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, I was reading that.
Just kind of wanted to take that inspiration and push it forward and make it feel very physical.
I remember...
But there's also tons...
Sorry, didn't realize I
was just going to say there's... That's okay. I was just going to say there's also tons of bug fixes and some sprite updates. The ants look a lot better.
Yeah, no, it felt really good when I was playing it earlier.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Nice and smooth, fun little platformer, and still, fairly unforgiving, like where its inspirations come from.
No, I actually...
Yeah, I've actually had to make it a lot easier.
Yeah. I was gonna say before, when you're talking about environmental stuff, I was like really impressed with the idea of shooting the water buckets, and then when you shoot the water buckets, they'll tip over and then grow a plant. You can use the plant as a platforming object to get up to a higher point. I was like, oh man, this is really cool. It's like super interesting.
I'm glad you like it, because that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah,
ideas.
that's the kind of thing that I really want.
No, it's just clever. It's just a bit different.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think up ideas like that. My original earlier builds of the game were a little bit more standard, more like almost a little bit like Mega Man, because I think the mechanics of shooting are somewhat similar. You're just kind of like shooting enemies that move differently and stuff, but I didn't feel like people were very engaged with it, and I kind of wanted to push it further. I like Mega Man a lot, but I just didn't think that people were as excited about it as I was, and I kind of thought about what more I could do with it.
Yeah. Oh, no, and I can see that. And, you know, talking about where its inspiration came from, I could definitely get that Metroid vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. Big time.
Because there are like permanent upgrades and stuff like that. I think it's kind of like a very light Metroidvania. Like, it has permanent upgrades and stuff like that, and you kind of have to traverse back and forth a little bit on the map screen, but the levels themselves aren't so much Metroidvania. There's a little bit of that, but currently not a ton.
Yeah, right.
So when you're talking before, would you say that? What's the biggest inspiration to the game? I know you said Yoshi's Island before, but
I think
yeah.
Well, yeah. So part of the whole reason I even made this game is because I was playing Super Mario 3 a lot, and I just realized I'd never made a game with a map screen like Mario 3. And I just started making this map screen. I realized that it would be perfect for a game that, you know, I've been conceptualizing for a long time with Wink. And so it just kind of came together that way. But
cool.
I had for a long time wanted to make a game with Wink, and I've drawn a lot and, you know, a lot of stuff with that. But it wasn't until I started making this map that you can see in the game that it really started to happen.
Oh, nice. So you've had this the character in this world ready for a while, and now you're applying it to a game. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've had this character for a long time.
What inspired the character? I've never. Yeah, it's really cool. Like you're saying before,
I can't say I've seen
Nothing. I was just doodling, which I do a lot, and I just drew him sleeping in a bed, and decided I started drawing this game called Wink or Eyes Dreaming. I didn't know his name yet, and the game was going to be hand drawn, like black and white sketch kind of vibe, and that was just going to be like, yeah. I mean, I'm still interested in exploring stuff like that with Wink. I think the next game I make with Wink, or my next platformer, I've got a lot of ideas for that, but I have some other ideas for non-platformer games too. But my next platformer is going to be using my hand-drawn art because I'm actually an artist, so I draw a lot.
Yeah.
So
super creative.
How do you think you'd incorporate that into, say, a platformer or something like that, the hand-drawn style?
Well, that is a very good question. I think I'm going to have to do a lot of trial and error, and I've tried a little bit because I was going to do it before, and I did actually do some tests with it, but at the time it didn't work very well because of performance issues, but I think I could do it better this time. And I think my biggest question is, like, if I'm going to be able to use tiles, which I use now, of course, with pixel art to lay out the screens, or if I'm going to have to draw every single thing, which drawing every single thing would probably be a lot easier, but it would take up a lot more storage space and possibly memory too. So I haven't done a whole lot of work figuring that one out, so I don't really know.
I mean, you've already talked about a little bit, you know, of sort of what I'm about to ask, but I guess the approach to building it. So it sounds like, you know, Wink as a character or as a protagonist, if you will, has existed for a long time, and now he's got his own world. So what was the approach to actually building it? So like the decision to go with Game Maker over something like Unity or so
I've been using GameMaker since I was in junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And back then it was just kind of a hobbyist thing. It was only for Windows, and it was just accessible to me at the time. So, I have had a lot of experience in it. And there was a period of time a few years ago where I was thinking, should I keep using GameMaker or should I switch to Unity or something else? But I looked into it and it seemed like GameMaker was the best for my needs. And they really have built it up to, I mean, you can develop games for all of the major consoles, the Switch, the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, with it, all of the computer systems that I can think of, like Linux, Mac OS, Windows. You can do it for Steam. So having so much experience with it and then having it be so capable is a real boon to me. And I feel really lucky that they ended up developing it so much more than its very humble roots. And I think it's a good program.
Well, I used it in the same sort of period, in high school, early high school, just making little platformers and figuring out how to code gravity, just those little things.
Right.
And then, following high school, I completely forgot that it existed. So hearing that it's like still being developed and now it's, you were saying it's, we're at GameMaker 7 and it's moving to GameMaker Studio. GameMaker 7 is actually quite old, but GameMaker for Mac, which was released around when GameMaker 8.1 came out, I think 2012 or maybe 2011. But anyway, whenever that came out, it was outdated when it came out, but I used it anyway. And it has worked against me a little bit because now that I'm switching, I've had to do a lot of updates. And that's why Beta 3 has taken so long. But I will say that a lot of games you might not know have been made with GameMaker, like Undertale was made with GameMaker. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
Yep. And I think Hyper Light Drifter was made with GameMaker.
Yeah, I have heard that, actually. That's a huge game.
Yeah.
So a surprising number of maybe Celeste. I'm not 100% sure about that one, though. But a lot of big indie games have been made with it because it's very capable. Like you can get it on a lot of different systems, and there are a lot of really good engines or IDEs like GameMaker, like Godot and stuff, but they don't have that. So that's one of the benefits I think of GameMaker, and its licensing is different from Unity.
Go on, yeah.
No problem. I think Unity requires percentages or something after a certain point. So I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong about that one.
Yeah, I actually can't remember. I mean, we've had a crack at a game before and we used Unity.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What were you guys making?
So it was originally
a mobile game.
So yeah, it's a big story, but originally we shot for a game that was way over our heads. So we had no clue what we're doing. We're
just so much ambition.
Yeah.
It was just
which I feel like most
so
people
complicated.
I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. You're just you just whiteboard this great massive idea and then you start breaking it down. It's like, oh, we have no idea what we're doing. This is hard.
Yeah.
That actually happened to me with this game because I wanted it to have 7 worlds, and I got a lot of work done on all the different worlds, but then I realized it had taken me 2 years to do one world.
Yeah, and wow.
I realized this one world is really big, so I'm going to release this game as kind of a preview of what Wink could be someday, and I've got those other worlds.
Almost.
Pretty much. This could be Super Mario Brothers, and then the one that I'm making or planning ahead for could be Mario 3,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Big development on the...
Yeah, that's clever. I like that.
There's a...
So, yeah.
There's a game called Ultra Kill that I found on itch. They released 5 levels for free, and then those free 5 levels have actually given the game heaps of exposure because people are able to play it.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
And now he's about to release his full version of the game. So yeah, that's big audience. So
That's
it's
really
a
cool.
really good idea to just release like a sort of a full product. Like you call it an actual product just so people can see it, but then you have those extra levels, like you're saying, you have planned to then be released later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like trying to avoid that whole early access label because that's got a bit of a stigma around it now. So
I was wondering about that. I was talking with somebody about early access, and I hadn't really thought about doing it, but like I'm in this game developer group. We used to have meetings, but now we have chats on Discord like this, like once a month. But originally, like I'm mostly thinking about this being like the first game, and then having another game be bigger, and having it be like the sequel to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool idea to like maybe expand upon it, but I really do think this first world is so in depth, like it's very deep, like the way it is. It would take forever for a first world, and that's part of what made me realize I don't really need to make any more worlds, because this world in itself is quite involved. So I think it's
engaging.
Kind of stands on its own as a world, as a game. We'll see in the end, but I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sort of understanding what you're saying, Sam and I had a little bit of a similar thought. Not that we actually ever released what we were working on, but we started working on it with zero idea of what we were doing, and then learned, and then we both studied as well. And then by the time we came back to it, we were like, yeah, let's just leave that as where it is. And we've learned a lot, and we'd have to rebuild it now, and we could move on to something bigger and better now. And
Yeah.
Always.
What kind of game was it?
Oh, yeah, right. So it was just this, have you ever heard of voxel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we used voxel to create like the game style and objects and maps. And it's just like this side, like 2.5 3D mobile golf game where you just swing a golf ball with a club into a randomly generated hole on the wall with some funky maps in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, little, more complicated than we anticipated, but it was fun while it lasted.
So originally we planned for like this big 2D platforming RPG with like ragdoll physics and all the big storylines, huge maps, and then
it's like so
and like, actually this is way too big, and then we went with the golf cam and couldn't even finish that. So
yeah. It's just it's and I think that's why we enjoy doing this kind of stuff as like a side to the podcast episodes, because it really just paints a picture. Like as you were saying, that one world in Wink, it's taken you 2 years. It sounds so. Just to sort of follow up, is you're currently developing it on your own, or?
Yes. So I decided that I really want to do this game by myself, and probably won't do another game by myself again, but I'd like to do this one by myself.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, in the future, I'd probably give up programming, because although I know how to program and stuff, I don't think I have the real depth of talent that a lot of people have, and people who studied it. I've just taught myself, and there are a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even people have studied that. There's a lot of things, it's so much to do with just trial and error. It's like, you build a game and then you learn a bunch of stuff from building the game, and then you realize how, either inefficient the coding is, or how backwards it might be, or, how you could tidy things up. But then it's like, we need to rebuild this section if I want to do that quicker, or save some resources. Yeah, it's such an interesting learning process.
It is. I think that coding is cool, and I'm glad I know how to do it, but I think that I'd like to take a break and let somebody else handle it so I can focus more on the art and the gameplay and the levels and the graphics.
And just the design overall.
And the music, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because is it you? So you do all the music and write all the music as well?
I did, yeah. I'm a musician. I make a lot of music, so I was making that music around the time I started making Wink, and it just fit in really well with it. So I kept it.
Oh,
No, awesome. I like it. It definitely fits the vibe of the game, or the energy of the game.
Awesome.
All the elements of the game, I'll say as well, all blend together really well. It really feels like a world when you're playing it. It feels like its own world thing.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys think that.
Yeah. Until you get to that early game trash can shoot where it takes you to a room full of bees and you just get absolutely tortured.
I missed that one. What was that?
Oh, man. I found a trash can. I'm like, oh, maybe you can go in here. And I went in there. And then you spawn with like a bubble and then there's like just 50 bees in a room.
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to have that invincibility, so it makes it okay.
Yeah. I got rid of that very quickly.
Oh, no.
Or I forgot to I don't know how I missed it, but I just was punishing myself.
Maybe it just doesn't last long enough because, that's not supposed to be a punishment. It's supposed to be like, hey, you're invincible, so you don't have to worry about all these crazy enemies.
Oh, see, I was like, I got to take out all the bees. I just went for it.
That's fine.
Dark Souls boss.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go on.
One thing I'd like to say is I wasn't originally planning on letting you go into those trash cans, but a lot of my beta testers thought that you could, just like automatically thought, I can go down these like pipes in Mario. So
that's exactly what I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a very natural thing that people seem to assume. And I think it really helped the game because having something that can transport you that way is really useful.
Yeah, something I found really, even within the first 2 minutes of playing it, that there's like an immediate encouragement to just explore where it doesn't look like you can. Because even the first jump up to the top of the level, there's like the little secret ledge entry where you go see the snail. And I was like, oh, there's no indication that you should be able to walk into this ledge, but you can. And I was like, that's quite cool. And then immediately I was like, okay, what else can I get into? So I really like that idea.
That's awesome. And I definitely have filled pretty much every area that I can put a secret, have something there. And I'd like to have there are some little like really weird moments in the game. And I'd like to have some more of those, just like really inspired by Link's Awakening where you're interacting with strange characters and stuff like that. That's something that I really loved about that game. Yeah.
So I guess just to sort of polish off the solo development adventure that you're on, it sounds like, the benefits is it being your own, but what would you say the pros and cons of it are? Like, would you much prefer a team? You enjoyed the solo experience thus far?
So I've been working on it as a solo person, except for a brief period where I collaborated with my friend on a game we never released. But those levels are actually going to go into Wink at some point. So that's cool. I like collaboration. As every medium that I work in, I enjoy it. But since I started, I've mostly been doing it by myself. And I do really enjoy having the complete control of what we do.
Yeah.
I like being the one who makes the decisions. So that made me realize if I'm going to be in a team, I need to be the leader of the team.
Yeah.
And, another cool thing about working by yourself is you set the pace. You don't have to wait for somebody else.
Yeah.
And they don't have to wait for you. Because I do take long breaks sometimes when I get focused on other stuff, and then I come back to it. So, but I've figured that when I do start working with a team, we can just kind of like touch base. And if I have to do other projects, then I'll just set them up with some larger details of things to do, and then they can finish them and I can check up on them. So I'd say the biggest con of working by yourself is you have to do everything yourself, and it takes so much time.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, just like I'm pretty sure that's why it's taken me so long to code it. And like I said, I don't feel like I'm a very natural coder. Like, I don't think that it's something that, like, I'm not like Steve Wozniak, who was like a genius of maybe more hardware. But anyway, he was just like a genius. He had a very intuitive understanding. I don't feel like I do. I just feel like I know how to get stuff done by
troubleshooting and just trial and error. And, I mean, would
pretty much.
Would you find that? Would you potentially boil that down to just like coding not being the core element of development that you enjoy? Being an artist and a musician, and like finding a lot of enjoyment in those areas, that the coding part's like, oh, well, I need to code for the game to work. But it's not.
I'd say that. I think that might be kind of true. The only thing is, I do take pride in coding, and I feel good about it. That's part of the reason why I want to finish this by myself, because I came to this point where I realized I can't do what I want to do if I do it all by myself. I can't make that super long game with 6 worlds if I do it by myself. I can't devote the time. And I feel like if I had to choose between somebody else making the graphics and somebody else making the code, it's more front facing and people can really tell the difference. And I have a real distinct vision for what I want things to look like and be like. So I think it's just a little bit more, it makes more sense for me to hand the code over to somebody else and keep the other stuff for myself.
Yeah, I can definitely, like, the graphics of the game are really unique, and I feel like if someone else was doing that, it'd be totally different. You know what I mean? And yeah, if you're enjoying doing the graphics more, it'll feel like a much better project for you if you push the programming off to someone else. That way you're doing what you enjoy more often.
Right. And the thing is, I do enjoy coding, but it's just like such a laborious process for me that I just feel like somebody else could do a better job.
It's never ending. It's just debugging. Like, it's just fixing stuff that never works constantly. It's never just coding something for it to work.
Yeah. And when you change one thing, it could break something else.
Oh, gosh. The dreaded semicolons, just end it now.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel programming as well. The only time I feel good programming is finally getting something to work that you just spent 20 hours on.
It's the best feeling.
That's true.
Like, best feeling.
You guys bring up a really good point, because for me, programming is like the most addictive puzzle. Like, I don't even do other puzzles. Such a challenge. It's just making a game is like the best game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a quote right there.
Making a game is the best game. That's cool. I like that. I mean, and talking before about, just the development and going solo, I guess I think it really shows in a game, or the results of a developed game, or a game in development, where the level of passion went into it. So like, if, in this case, if your passion really lies in the art, the design and the graphic and the concepts and the music, then that'll really show. And I think it already is showing. And then
that's good.
Yeah. If coding the game is like, oh yeah, I enjoy it, but like, I want to focus on this and then have someone focus on this because that's their passion, then that could really shine as well. So, and just create quite a beautiful little package.
I think so, especially because other people could have ideas and flexibility. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy collaborating with people, because they always bring something to the table of their own. And without fail, every time I've collaborated with somebody on something, I've always felt really excited and inspired by their ideas and feedback and stuff. They always bring something.
Yeah, it's that it's just getting out of that little tunnel vision hole that you might get stuck in when you're working on something solo, because you just it's followed a path and that's just where it's sat, and then fresh pair of eyes, it's like, oh, what about this? And it's like, oh, I haven't left the room in a while to actually think about anything else.
That's a really good point. And that's why I think sometimes it's good for me to take long breaks from the game, because when I come back, it really does help me quickly like assess like different things that were going wrong. So I'll take like a month away from it sometimes. And like I did that. I took a break because I was having like a week break because I was having such a hard time with the compilation on the Mac, and I fixed it in like one day after I took a break. Like that fresh pair of eyes, you know?
It's, so you say you write a lot of music. I don't know if you play guitar, but it's like,
I do.
Yeah, there you go. So, Sam and I both play as well. And
cool.
It's like when you're learning a riff or like trying to record a riff, and then you just take that 10-minute like processing break and you come back and you just nail it. Yeah. It's that same concept.
So you guys record music too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have this little hardcore band.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, some heavies, some breakdowns.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like heavy stuff. I like noise a lot. Noise rock is one of my favorite.
Yeah, cool.
Genres.
Oh yeah.
What kind of music are you making?
Well, right now I've been really into like I've been really inspired by alternative pop like Lorde and Lana Del Rey.
Oh man,
which
Boppy
is
stuff.
a huge change for me because I used to pretty much be only into like Sonic Youth and the Velvet Underground and the Stooges and Nirvana and stuff like that. I still love that.
Super grungy.
Yeah, I totally love grungy stuff and punk stuff and yes. Right now I've been making more like poppy stuff, but I've also been experimenting a lot with beats, like using my phone and exploring, like experimenting with guitar and beats at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, Sam does a bit of that as well. So.
Yeah, I just
cool.
Last week I finished up writing an album for a game. It's like a clicker. You know those clicker games where you just kind of sit there and
like point and click.
No, not. It's hard to explain.
Did you ever play that browser game called Cookie Clicker like years ago?
No, I've never heard of that before.
So I guess the concept is you start and you got to get money to upgrade stuff. So then you keep clicking on an object to accumulate money, and then the upgrades then allow you to, either auto collect money, and then it's just sort of like a time killer more than like anything with much substance.
Okay, so do you just click on one thing?
Yeah, most of the time.
You'll start off with like a lemonade stand or something. Every time you click on the lemonade stand, you'll gain $1, and then you just keep stacking up $1 for every click, and then eventually you can get like an auto clicker on the lemonade stand, and then you just auto generate money without clicking, and then you'll buy like a car factory or something. I forget what they have. And then you generate more money. Yeah. It's just the numbers just keep going up. It's just numbers and numbers and numbers. Yeah.
And it's so strangely addictive. Like it really,
I was just
they
gonna
really
say,
suck you in.
I bet it sounds addictive.
Yeah. I got sucked into one of those years ago. I just had it running in my browser all day.
Yeah. I don't recommend starting one up because you'll never be able to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too much.
Oh, you know what I'm so addicted to right now? Mario Maker. I just got I've been playing it.
I've never played it before, but I've seen lots of stuff. I've got because that just came out on Switch, didn't it? Recently?
It did, but I always have outdated equipment. I just got a Wii U, and it's not as good as that one.
I love that. I mean, they'd be dirt really cheap fun. Now.
Pretty cheap, yeah. I got it for under $200, and it had a bunch of games.
Oh, so
that was pretty awesome.
Excellent. It was a cool little console, the Wii U.
It was, yeah. There were a lot of good games on it.
Yeah, it was a bit underrated, bit of an underdog, but
I'd say it's a bit underrated. I definitely think the Switch, has like pretty much all of the benefits of the Wii U. Like the Wii U is cool because it has that tablet, but the Switch is just the tablet if you want it to be. So that's really cool.
I think Nintendo's found their place in the console world.
Yeah,
with the
definitely.
Yeah.
They've like finally clicked on a concept.
I think so too, because they've always been so good at mobile systems and they've always been so successful there. But now they've combined the mobile with the at home and just such a cool system. So exciting.
We're gonna have to bring Wink to the Switch.
Yeah, I want to. I really want. I want Wink to be on all the consoles, and that's one of the reasons why I stayed with Game Maker, because it's possible. True. So, but you do have to get approval, and it's expensive. So I might have to do a Kickstarter. We'll see.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I really
that brings me to my next question.
Yeah,
it's more of
so beautifully.
It's more of a business type question, but yeah, what's your current plan for funding the development of the game? Like you've been developing it solo, so solo is probably the most low cost version of funding the development. But yeah, have you got any future ideas for that?
Right. So I felt like Wink didn't have enough attention for me to do a Kickstarter, even though I kind of wanted to. So I just decided that I'd probably I'm either going to make like a largely complete version for people to try out, maybe like an early access thing. I haven't totally decided, or do a Kickstarter when it's done to get it on other systems.
Yeah, okay.
So originally it's just probably going to be out on PC and Mac and possibly web. And
that would be cool, little browser game.
Yeah, I think that I think people are hard. I think it's hard for people to be convinced to download something they don't know about. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that a lot of people will go to, they'll be interested, but they won't actually download it. And so I think that really has to do with the fact that you just don't know what you're getting when you download something.
Yeah, so it's an accessibility thing.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of name recognition or anything, so this is my first game, so I'm going to push it as far as I can, but it's possible that I won't get funded for Kickstarter, and I'll just have to make a new one, and use this as kind of like, I made a game before, so you can trust that I'll make a game again,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's like, here's an introduction to what I can do, and I only want to improve, so.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
But I would like to be able to take Wink to like the consoles. I think it would be really fun to have on, like Shovel Knight and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I guess, talking about that or thinking about that, like or to you, what does the success of Wink look like? Like what's end game for Wink?
Well, the biggest success would be finishing it, because I have a history of not finishing games.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all do.
Yeah.
And that's why I just really want to get it done. I think that sometimes the biggest thing you can do as a developer is just complete a game. Yeah. It's not easy.
Like finishing a song or like, it's just.
Yeah. And like if you're making the music for the game, you have to finish 12 songs or how many other songs plus the game. So
it's like projects on projects.
It'll be a huge milestone for me. Yes, it is. And so that will in and of itself be a real personal victory.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'd say the first level of success would be using Wink to gain people who are interested in my future games and stuff.
Yep, build an
would
audience.
Be really good.
Yeah, cool.
Right. And the next level would be to get it on, to get like people buying it who are interested and sharing it and playing it. And my ultimate dream is to have it on all the consoles and have it be successful on them and have, people actually playing it on the consoles.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the dream for everyone, isn't it? Just being able to boot up Twitch and, someone's streaming my game. Yeah. There are gameplay videos on YouTube of my game.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
How cool.
And there actually are a few of Wink from some small streamers I've sent them to.
Really? Oh, that's...
And I love... Yeah. And I love it when people stream.
That's excellent.
My game.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, it's like I could see it being a game that is quite accessible for streamers because it's very because I don't know what the goal is, I guess, in the end. You did say you were having to make it easier. But it seems like a fairly laid back game where you could still interact with your audience fairly well while playing it. So it's sits in a good little pocket there.
Yeah, I think that's good. I didn't really think about that, but it definitely, it's not like white knuckle or anything like that.
Yeah.
And because I know the speedrunning community on Twitch is pretty big, so probably throw that in there as well. Yeah. People definitely speedrun this game. Seems like a kind of game.
Yeah. How many object glitches have you got to counter?
Yeah, and I would love to see that because, as a coder, you always try to make sure there are no bugs and no ways to cheat or anything. But
until speedrunners come in.
It would be a dream to see people do that.
Yeah.
I love how I watch Super Mario Bros. Speedrun and how they just glitch it in insane ways with pixel perfect accuracy.
Yeah. How do you find it? That's what blows my mind. How much time
I know.
is spent.
How do you find it? That's so cool.
The time spent. I was watching a Doom Eternal speedrun and it was just, I just couldn't believe it. It was pixel perfect, glitching off a ledge to launch himself into the sky to travel across the map into different areas. It was just wild to watch. How do people figure that stuff out? It's fascinating.
Do you have...
And they're very dedicated.
Yeah, it's too dedicated. Too much time.
Way too much time. Do you have some kind of roadmap for yourself for Wink? Do you have... Do you... something do you have future plans for features and things like that with the game?
Oh, okay, yeah. So right now we have about half the game and available to the players. And I've started working on levels that are blocked off by right now. And I just started working on one that I'm really excited about that takes place at a farm for these kinds of giant melons that you see around the game. And I'm excited about it because you're going to be using, after you get to the point in the game where the current demo ends, you get a upgrade to get ground pound power.
Oh, ground pounds only.
Are gonna, yeah. So I was really interested in the idea of using powers that are in a lot of platform games as kind of upgrades. So at first you don't have very much that you can physically do, but as you progress in the game, you can start doing more things and having more physical abilities, and you can play previous
Demo
levels.
is probably only going to include
in those levels
a level
more
called Cave of
Caboose, which has
these
you're going to get a
creatures
ground
called
pound ability, and
so
I'm just starting to kind of work on that. And
it's
basically based around growing mushrooms from spores that you can use to bounce to different locations or to shield you from acid dripping, and there are also crystals that you can shoot to break. It's a pretty cool level, and it's all dark and underground, and I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah. No, that sounds clever.
It's just going to have that one level and a lot of bug fixes, updates. I don't know if you've noticed, but because of the old version of GameMaker I used, there were some issues with the game. I tried it on a Windows 7 computer once, and it said there was some sort of audio problem, Windows didn't want to do it the way GameMaker wanted to or something. It still worked,
a weird
but
conflict.
This is going to be so this is going to be a lot better and a lot smoother. And for the Mac, it's a lot more integrated into the system. Full screen mode used to take over the screen completely, and you couldn't switch to the different desktops, but now you can.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very happy about it. Yeah.
Oh, I love how many transitions have come through. Because it's interesting, just what you said there. I booted it up on a Windows 7 machine and it wigged out. I don't think people really understand how far compatibility can go when it comes to development in a PC game and then Mac and then operating systems. It can be pretty convoluted at times.
It really can. And since no one has access to all the computers, like people will be like, this weird thing happened on my computer, and I'm like, oh great, I have no idea why.
Yeah, there are so many variables that could be impacting this right now.
Yeah.
It's like even like specifications when they come out for a AAA or any game, it's so hard to determine like what recommended specs for your machine could be, because you don't have 10, 15 different configurations to cover like a broad average to do testing on. Yeah.
I imagine like at a AAA, if I was in charge, we would have a lot of different companies.
Oh, you'd have to.
like,
yeah, you'd need.
I think there's specialty
guess,
companies that you can actually ship your game off to, and they rate it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Oh, that's that's actually a great idea.
I mean, I guess that's what beta testing's for as well. Like, releasing the game in a state where then you receive information based on, errors and reports and that kind of stuff. I think it's always a clever way to approach fixing a game, but.
Yeah, I think beta testing is super important. I find watching people play the game is extremely valuable to me in so many different ways, and I find it really fun. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's a win-win.
Because watching people play the game, I mean, yeah, you get multiple different types of feedback, like all the bugs, like we're saying, and as long as you get what kind of build they're running, you can apply that. But then you also get some gameplay feedback as well. You can switch and adapt.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can look at like, it's like, I built the game and, with an idea of how I intended it to be played, but then you watch someone else and how they're playing it. So who knows what you can take away from that.
It's huge. And also that's part of the reason why I had to make the game easier, because I have a tendency to kind of just automatically think if it's not hard, then people are going to get bored. But I found that actually, if it's too hard, people get bored because
they can't progress.
My level of skill, because they get stuck. And my level of skill on this game is, at this point, the best. Like, I hope that some speedrunner gets better than me and I can never beat them, because I think that would be so cool. But right now, nobody's better than me. And
I love that. I'm the king.
Yeah, I'm the king of Wink.
King of Wink. That's so good.
Yeah. So if I make it hard for myself, it's impossible for some people. Yeah. Like, I also like to let people who aren't super into games play it, because I'd really like this to have a good learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want the first levels to be really hard, but I want it to get really hard near the end or like halfway through. Like, that's when I really want it to ramp up like over the course of the game so that it's accessible to people at first, but in the end, it's a challenge.
Yeah, like it's engaging and it's encouraging. Like it makes you feel like you want to keep playing because there is a level of progression, but then it's also not just breezing through. It's like you actually have to improve in the game to get through it. So it's how do you balance that? Yeah.
Yeah, because I find I get bored in games if they're too hard, and I also get bored in games if they're too easy, because you just never, I don't know.
It's no challenge there. Yeah, I like a bit of competition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that feeling where the level is so hard that you just can't believe you're going to beat it, but then you do.
It just sounds like my whole Sekiro experience.
Yeah, Dark Souls.
Yeah. What's that?
Dark Souls? Yeah, so there's the more recent title from Software called Sekiro. Yeah, it's set in this sort of like Japanese setting, and you're a samurai, and it's got this stupid hard bosses like Dark Souls, and it's one of those games where you can only progress if you're good at the game.
Yeah.
So if you suck at the game, it's because if you can't progress, it's because you suck. You need to get better. So it's very, very satisfying when you spent 3 hours on a boss and then you finally beat
and like some of the bosses you beat and you do the whole like victory dance, like you're like, oh my god, that was so hard, I beat it, and then they come back to life and like some really bullshit things like that.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, it's just just punishing. Yeah. It's so punishing. But it's so good because it encourages you to want to get better. And talking about it like this, it's such an interesting thought because, it's not a simple thing to do to create that level of balance.
It's not. And I think about it a lot because it's like, I wonder, should I make this game punishing? But I want, like, I have my sister play this game, and, you know, I want her to actually be able to enjoy it because it's fun to have her play it.
Yeah, yeah.
And she is obsessed with Super Mario 3 now. Like, she wasn't a huge gamer, but she got one of those mini NESs, and I was just amazed. Like, she looked online for all the secrets and stuff. It's like, I'm so happy you're so into that game.
Wow, that's it.
She's hardcore.
I never even got into it like
Super
that.
hardcore.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, Sam, you go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just gonna say, how can our audience, the people listening to the podcast, support you in the development of this?
They can download it on itch.io. They can buy music from me on Bandcamp, because I guess I don't really have any like way for people to financially support me other than that. But I have a Bandcamp, which is linked in my social media. And so they could buy music from me, and then, or they could just say, hey, I want to give you money because I really like Wink and I want to support you. I should probably fix that though.
I think on,
make it.
Is there something on Itch that allows you to do that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, isn't there like a pay what you want sort of scheme that you can set up?
There is, but sometimes I wonder if that just prevents people from downloading it because they think they have to pay.
Oh, there's like almost like an obligation. It's like, no, I don't want to pay for it because I don't know it. But
and it doesn't say download for free or page. It says pay. And then it's like, I don't know if that would prevent people from playing it. And at this point, what helps me the most
is people playing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really does help. It helps me more than like one person buying it. I'd rather more people play it than less people buy it at this point, because beta testing is really important to have more people. And I don't really have a ton of people playing it yet. And I'd really like to change that. So I'm trying to make it more accessible to people at this point and try to get it out there and make it easy for people to play.
I think it's a good approach to have. Because I mean, I guess if you're in a position where you can just work on it when you can work on it and all you want is feedback, then I think it's the most encouraging thing for people to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to do it full time and focus on it, but that just hasn't been in the cards right now.
Gosh,
so
but the whole, situation going on, it's a little bit more complicated over your way as well.
Before that, yeah, totally. And even before that, it was like just not feasible. But that, I guess, is one thing that I would love to happen with the release of this game, is have people realize that supporting future development for me is worthwhile.
Well,
no, fantastic.
Well, yeah, it's been great talking to you. We'll make sure to post the Itch page on our Twitter and stuff. Try and push people to playing the game, and listeners should play the game. What's the best way for them to provide feedback? Just on the Itch comment section, or?
Yeah, they can do that, or they could. I mean, that is a really good one because it's just tied in right with the game.
Keeps everything in the same place.
I think that's probably the best way. I do have other social media that they could contact me on, like Twitter, if they want to. However, I think that the best way to contact me about game feedback is probably on Itch. And I've had a little bit of feedback on there, but the more the merrier.
Yeah, download the game, people. Get it in there. Give it a wink.
Give it a wink.
Post a comment.
That's a good tagline.
Break the game. Yeah.
Yeah, break
it. Give it a wink. Break it. Suss her out. It'll be good.
Yeah, thanks for having a chat with us, Max. Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for taking the time, Max. It's been
thanks
really
for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation we had.
No, it's been great. And look, we'll have to get back in contact, and once you get the next demo out, we can talk about some changes, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that would be really great. I'd love to.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, everyone. This has been the Nerd Sip Podcast, and we've been talking with Max Oakland about Wink. Get it on itch.io/wink beta. But yeah.
You can follow him on Twitter at _MaxValley_. That's correct, isn't it? Yes. All right, cool. Awesome.
It is.
Fantastic. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining us, Max. It's been great.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
And you have a good evening.
Thank you.